So for those cross-shopping between the brand new M5 MacBook Pro and the M4 MacBook Air, today I want to help you decide which one's worth your money. Starting with the design, you honestly can't go wrong with either of these. Apple settled into such a clean, timeless design language that both look nearly identical at first glance, the same uniform aluminium builds, the same full-size function row, the same notch. In fact, you'd have to look twice to tell them apart. The key differences come down to thickness, colour and ports. Now the M5 MacBook Pro is a bit thicker, but for good reason. It has a fan inside and a more advanced thermal system, so it can sustain performance for longer under loads. That does mean it's slightly heavier too, but honestly, the 14-inch Pro still feels surprisingly portable. The M4 MacBook Air is of course thinner and lighter, and if portability is your number one priority, the Air still wins hands down. But we're talking millimeters and grams here, not enough to change the experience for most people. Where you really start to see a difference is ports. The Air gives you the basics, 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports and MagSafe, while the Pro gives you a proper Pro setup, 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, an SD card reader, HDMI and MagSafe. If you work with cameras, monitors or audio gear, that's genuinely useful. But I'll be honest, even as someone who still uses an M1 MacBook Air daily, I've survived perfectly fine with 2 ports, especially since MagSafe now keeps both Type-C ports free when charging. My only wish, that the Air had 1 port in each side, just like the Pro does. And then we get to colours, where the Air clearly wins for personality. The M4 Air comes in Midnight, Starlight, Silver and the new Sky Blue finish that honestly looks great in person. The M5 MacBook Pro keeps things more serious with Silver and Space Black. Personally, I still stick with classic silver, it just feels right for a Mac. And if you agree, or even if you don't, make sure you hit subscribe and hit the new hype button down below. It's completely free and helps a small channel reach more Apple fans like you. So if you enjoy videos like this, that's the best way to show your support. Now let's talk displays, because this is where the gap between these two machines gets very real. The M5 MacBook Pro 14-inch continues to feature one of the best displays ever put on a laptop. It's that same liquid Retina XDR Mini-LED panel with 1000 nits of brightness sustained, 1600 nits for HDR, and a buttery smooth 120Hz ProMotion refresh rate. It's the same technology used in Apple's top-end MacBook Pros, which means you're getting pro-level visuals even on the base model. If you watch a lot of HDR content, edit photos or videos, or just appreciate deep contrast and vivid colours, the screen alone could justify the upgrades. You can also spec it up with a nano texture glass option if you hate reflections, though that's a pricey add-on. Meanwhile, the M4 MacBook Air's panel is still very good, it's just not as premium. It uses Apple's tried and tested liquid Retina LCD panel with 500 nits of brightness, full P3 support, and True Tone. It's the same panel that Apple's used for years, and for most it still looks more than fine. Unless you're editing HDR content or specifically want that mini LED contrast, the Air's display won't feel like a downgrade. If you can, check them out side by side in a store, because that's where you'll immediately see the jump, but unless your workflow demands the higher brightness and contrast, the Air screen still delivers a great experience for less. Now let's move on to performance, because this year, Apple's silicon game got serious again. The M4 chip in the MacBook Air was already an impressive upgrade, but the new M5 chip inside the 14-inch MacBook Pro pushes things even further. Like the M4, it's built on TSMC's 3nm process and features a 10-core CPU, 10-core GPU, and 16-core neural engine. But this time, everything's faster, who'd have figured? Apple says the M5 delivers up to 15% faster CPU performance, up to 45% faster GPU performance, and up to 60% higher frame rates in games that take advantage of its new 3rd generation ray tracing and enhanced shader architecture. The GPU now has a neural accelerator in every core, which means you get up to 4 times the peak compute performance compared to the M4. Memory bandwidth has also jumped from 120 gigs per second to 153 gigs per second, meaning it can move data faster and handle heavy activities more efficiently. And that's not all, the storage system also got a big upgrade as well. The MacBook Pro M5 now uses Apple's latest gen SSD tech with read speeds of up to 6.8 gigabits per second, which is twice as fast as the entry-level M4 Air. Now that might sound like a nerdy detail, but in real life, it does mean faster file launches, quicker app launches, and snappier video exports. But, and this is important, the Air's still no slouch. For most doing typical day-to-day stuff like browsing, writing, spreadsheets, or even light photo or video editing, you're not going to feel that performance increase. Where the M5 Pro pulls ahead is in sustained workloads. like video editing, 3D rendering, or anything GPU intensive. The fan system in the Pro allows it to maintain top performance for longer without throttling. Though I will mention in my case, I spend a lot of time editing 4K videos, and even my older fanless M1 Air still holds up incredibly well. So the idea that the Air isn't powerful enough just isn't true anymore. It's about how long you need that power sustained, and that's where the Pro's cooling helps. But still, most people can get work done on the Air perfectly fine. Both come with 16 gigs of unified memory as standard, which is a huge plus for longevity. The difference is in configurability. The M4 Air tops out at 32 gigs of RAM and 2 terabytes of storage, while the M4 MacBook Pro can go all the way up to 32 gigs of RAM and 4 terabytes of storage, giving professionals more headroom if they need it. So performance is definitely a win for the M5 Pro, but not a deal breaker against the Air. Let's now move on to audio webcam, because here again the Pro flexes its muscles. Both the M4 and M5 Pro feature a 12 megapixel center stage camera, which does a great job keeping in frame during calls, but the real difference comes from the speakers. The M5 Pro has a 6-speaker sound system with force-cancelling woofers, and it honestly sounds phenomenal. You get clear highs, deep lows, and impressive stereo separation. It's one of the best laptop audio experiences, period. The M4 Air sounds perfectly fine for its size. Apple still gives you a decent 4-speaker setup, but the Pro absolutely outclasses it. The mics are also studio quality on the Pro, whereas the Airs are more standard. Keyboards and trackpads are identical across both, and that's a good thing. Apple's Magic Keyboard is fantastic, Touch ID is reliable, and the large glass trackpad remains best in class. Connectivity is also solid on both. You've got Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3, so everything from streaming to AirDrop runs without any hiccups. The Pro does include HDMI for direct external displays and an SD card slot, which will definitely appeal to creators. Battery life is another area where the Pro quietly wins. Apple claims up to 24 hours of Apple TV playback on the M5 MacBook Pro versus 18 hours on the M4 MacBook Air. In my own testing, editing videos for 2 hours, the Pro dropped around 9% battery, while the Air lost around 13%. So yeah, the Pro does last longer, but both will comfortably get you through a full day and leave every Windows laptop in the dust. You also get a slightly higher wattage power adapter with the Pro, 70W Type-C, except in Europe there is no longer a charger in the box as standard now. This is actually a quite advantage the M4 Air has, though do expect the M5 Air to also bring over this change unfortunately. Now let's talk about the price, because this is where decisions get real. The M5 MacBook Pro 14-inch starts at $1,599/pounds, and the M4 MacBook Air starts at $999/pounds. But also can be found for much less nowadays. It's often on discount for $899. That's a solid $600 to $700 cheaper. And as much as I love the M5's mini LED display, speakers and extra ports, it's hard to justify the difference for most people, especially when the performance gap while there is a night and day for everyday usage. That said, you are getting a much more future-proof machine with the M5 Pro, faster GPU, double the max storage, higher bandwidth memory, better display, better audio, and better battery life. If you do creative work or plan to hold onto your laptop for 5+ years, it's genuinely a smart investment. But if you want a powerful, thin, and quiet MacBook for productivity, media, and editing, the M4 remains a sweet spot. It's lighter, cheap, and still incredibly capable. I'm still using an M1 MacBook Air, let me remind you, and with Apple Silicon being so efficient, even the fanless design isn't a limitation anymore. So my verdict? Unless you absolutely need that XDR display, the M4 MacBook Air will be the right choice for around 90% of people. But if you're a creative, someone who pushes their Mac hard, or just wants the best of the best Apple laptop experience without going for the Pro or Max chips, the M5 MacBook Pro is absolutely worth it. I'll leave links below to both Macs below. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you leaning towards the Air for value or the Pro for power? Let me know down below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit the hype button. It really helps a small channel like mine grow. And to make sure you won't miss any of my Apple deep dives right here on the Surround by YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.